following program is intended for mature audiences.
What do you say we have a rock and roll party?
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And download every episode and more at basicallyasportshow.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
and you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
It's been a while.
What's it been now? You've been gone for...
I haven't done the last 2 weeks.
Seems longer.
It's great to be back. I've just been so friggin' busy with transitioning seasons and football and this higher, getting more stuff. It's good. It's a good busy, but it's just like crazy busy. Like I had to go to a championship luncheon up in Long Beach today to talk. It's basically like the media day for high school football championships. And then I had to drive down to the newspaper office, type up something. Then I had to go out to Rancho Santa Margarita to do a soccer interview. And then I have to come back here to my house to do this. And then I have to type up another football story when I'm done. And then tomorrow I got to go to football practice. And Wednesday I got to turn to my soccer story. And cross country nationals are next Saturday. And I have 2 championship football games this weekend. And ugh.
I think in the cross-country championships, they run through 2 parks. They really make it special for everyone.
Hey, I didn't have to go up to the state meet, which I'm kind of glad because it was up in friggin' Fresno. If anyone has ever traveled through the great state of California and you've stopped or gone through Fresno for whatever reason, you know that that's not exactly it's not exactly a paradise. Well,
don't they have a minor league? Oh, they've got the Fresno State Bulldogs, so there's that.
Fresno Grizzlies.
Right.
And
I always assumed that the Fresno State Bulldogs were like actually a significant team, but apparently they are not.
They used to be for a little while.
Yeah, the football team is pretty decent. Baseball team can be good.
Fresno State was kind of like Boise State before Boise State became Boise State, if that makes any sense. They were the little guys that could. They were going out and...
Yeah, they would go like 11-1 every year. And they had
this coach who was basically like, we'll play anybody anywhere. And they did, and they started winning some of those games, and all of a sudden, no one would play them anymore. And then I don't know if he moved on or what happened to him, but they kind of fell back to earth, and here we are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They need a guy like Jim Harbaugh. Fucking asshole.
Best coach in the Big Ten.
I've just been getting such a kick out of watching him whine over that game. One spot did not cost you that football game. I don't care what he wants to say.
I watched that game, and I don't see how anyone could argue in any way that, they were screwed by the officials. Like, sometimes you get a bad call, right?
There was the one play in overtime where J.T. Barrett, they went for it on 4th down, and the spot gave him the first down. And it was it was a tough call. Now, look, and you guys know
it was pretty tight.
That if I thought the Buckeyes got a lucky call, I would say so. I'm not one of those people that's going to just stand behind my team no matter what. I legitimately thought he had it. And if I didn't think he had it, I'd say, hey, you know what? We screwed him, but we got out with the win. But I don't think that's what happened here. It was close. I thought he had it. And like they said on the broadcast, there was nowhere near enough evidence to overturn it. And they certainly weren't going to overturn that call based on what they had to look at. So that's the way it works out.
To me, it looked tight, but it looked tight, but it was so close that I didn't have a problem with them giving them the spot because it's like, you know what? Yeah, I can see how that was the correct call. I can see that.
I just think that was, in my memory, and I'm sure there have been others, but it sure seems to me like that was the best Ohio State-Michigan game I've ever watched.
It was the first overtime game in the series. So, I mean, it's got to be at least in the top 10, top 5. And considering what, their rankings are and what ultimately was on the line, a playoff spot, it has to be up there as one of the better ones.
A lot of people are saying that the 2006 game where Ohio State was 1 and Michigan was 2, but that game, even though the final score, that game was really never quite as close as the score would have you believe. The Buckeyes were always up like 10, and then Michigan would score to get it back close, but they could never get it. They never were able to tie it up or anything. This one,
yeah, and you end up forgetting that one because then they lost to Chris Leach.
Jeez, God, that was so.
Chris Leach in Florida.
It was like Ted Ginn comes out, returns the opening kickoff for a touchdown. I'm like, all right, and that was pretty much as good as it got. It was bad.
I remember we were all surprised. Ohio State was going to wipe the floor with that Florida team. But
yeah, not so much. But anyway, yeah, it's just I just want to say, I mean, I don't want to take us. I mean, we can talk about the football playoff picture and stuff if you want. My feeling on it is that the Buckeyes, I don't know how you take them out of it at this point, even though I kind of disagree with it. But you're going to have a really tough time justifying moving them down out of the top 4 after they just beat the number 3 team in the country, and now they're going to sit back and do nothing the rest of the way.
Well, and because of the way that the game ended, with it being an overtime game and super tight, I don't even know how far you drop Michigan, to be perfectly honest.
Probably 5 at most. I mean, 6 at the very most, right?
But that's what I mean, is that no matter how, you're not going to drop Michigan below Penn State or Wisconsin.
No.
Who are playing in the actual Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, and here's my thing, okay? I was thinking about this. I would much rather have had Penn State lose and earn it legitimately, go into the Big Ten title game, take your chances with Wisconsin. If you win, great, okay. But if the Buckeyes have to screw somebody, I'm perfectly fine with it if it's Penn State. I'm not gonna feel so good about it if it's Wisconsin. Like, if Wisconsin wins the Big Ten, I'm gonna be like, I'm not so sure about this. But if it's Penn State, whatever, too bad. Sucks to be you. That's the way I feel about it.
And honestly, from what, college football I've seen this season, I don't know how anyone could argue in any way that, either Penn State or Wisconsin are better than, Ohio State and Michigan. They're just not.
Well, and here's the thing. So if Wisconsin beats Penn State, which they probably should, Wisconsin has 2 losses.
Yeah.
Those 2 losses are to Michigan and Ohio State.
Yep.
So what do you do? If Penn State wins, then Penn State beat Ohio State.
Right.
They lost to Michigan. What do you do?
Right.
It's just this is such a unique situation that could only happen with the way college does things. Like, I get it. High school does it and college does it. In the NFL, you don't do it. But, imagine, I think it was, 2 years ago where we had this, where, say, the Raiders were 6-0 in the AFC West, but they were, 8-8 overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean, they won all their division games? Does that make them the division champion?
No.
But in college football, that's how it works, because the non-conference schedules are so varied that the only way that they can choose a team is by the rankings of the actual divisional standings. But to be honest too, you got to credit Penn State for sticking around long enough to win what is probably the toughest division in college football this year.
Yeah,
for whatever that's worth. It's just such a weird deal.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, under normal circumstances,
there's so many teams that are ranked ahead of them that are better. It's weird.
I would much prefer, honestly, I don't think it's going to be right that the Big Ten champion is probably going to stay home at the expense of the team that came in second place in this division. Yeah. That just doesn't even make sense to me. But, again, I'm not the one that ranked Ohio State at number 2, and I'm not the one that's not going to move them out of number 2 unless I just come up with some bullshit reason to do it. So I don't know, the committee's got to do what they need to do really is they need to expand it to 8 teams and be done with it, because that's the only way you're ever going to get around this. People are going to bitch about the team number 9 or whatever, but that's a much tougher argument to make than, say, team number 4 is going to have to make.
I like the idea that you guys threw out there, which was 5 conference champions get in plus 3 at large.
Right.
That seems like the easiest way to do it.
Yep. And you don't even have to make it Power 5 conferences. You can base it okay, let's say that we have a year like where Louisville – isn't Louisville in the
Louisville's in the ACC.
Okay, well, who's isn't there – oh, it was Houston. I'm thinking of Houston. Right. If Houston's having a great year in the All-American Gladiator Conference or whatever it's called, then and they're ranked highly. Then guess what? Okay, maybe your conference is ranked higher than like you're the
Big 12
than the Big 12. So you get in ahead of the Big 12. It doesn't even have to be the Power 5.
Yeah, you could say like the top 5 ranked conference champions.
Right. Yeah.
It's easy enough.
Because, the committee's made this whole big deal about it always being about, we put a premium on conference championships until we don't, which is what's going to happen this year.
Yeah. Well, I think this is just such a weird circumstance. In any other year, this isn't a problem.
No.
It's just you have this weird set of circumstances where the conference champion will be lower on the totem pole. Like, because you can look at it all season, like we said, and I don't think there's any way to say that Penn State or Wisconsin is actually better than Wisconsin or Michigan, other than the fact that Penn State beat Ohio State. But, it's just a weird thing.
Who did the Patriots lose to this year? I don't know.
They lost to the Bills in the last game before Tom Brady. And
they lost to someone else recently that was like a stupid loss that.
But is anybody going to seriously argue that the Bills are better than the Patriots because the Patriots lost to the Bills? Of course not.
No.
But again, like I said, that's the committee. It's on the committee for making the conference championships a premium thing. That's on them. But I get the argument. If you're not an Ohio State fan, and even if you are an Ohio State fan, you should probably be looking at this going, this is not really cool that we're going to back our way into this. I don't like it, but like I said, I'm going to feel a little less bad about it if it's Penn State that we back in over.
If you're a Penn State fan, then you should probably reevaluate that.
You got bigger problems than whether Ohio State makes the playoff or not.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because you look at Ohio State's record and who they beat this year. They beat Michigan, who's going to still be a top 10 team. They beat Wisconsin, who's a top 10 team. They beat Oklahoma, who's a top 10 team, according to the committee.
Yeah, well.
No other team has 3 top 10 wins.
Really?
No.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Ohio State has to be up there. And then, hell, let's throw another wrench into the whole thing if you want. Let's say Colorado beats Washington on Friday. Colorado would have beaten USC, who's ranked highly. They would have beaten Utah, who's ranked. They would have beaten Washington, who's a top 5 team. And then they also played Michigan pretty tough earlier in the year, too.
Yeah.
And on the other side, for, say, Michigan beat Colorado. Michigan beat Wisconsin and Penn State. There's another one with 3 top 10 wins, I guess. Michigan. There you go.
Well, here's the thing, too. I mean, what are the chances of – because what's that? Michigan's got 2 losses now, right?
Yep.
What are the chances okay. If Washington loses and that gives them 2 losses, could we see where, like Michigan and Ohio State both make the playoff and neither one of them were in the conference championship?
That was something that was discussed. I watched Fox put together this discussion panel room with all their football people. And they were going through all these scenarios based on who wins and loses the next weekend. And they were saying, like, if things fall down in a certain way, you could have 3. If Clemson were to lose the ACC title game somehow, and if Washington lost to Colorado, could you have Alabama, Ohio State, and Michigan Big Ten champion as your playoff?
I kind of hope not.
That legitimately could happen.
Well, yeah. That's what I mean. That's why you've got I love the playoff, and I like the fact that they kept it small to make it really important. But we're already at a point now where you're going, look, you've got to give more teams into this thing, because right now, I don't think it's fair. If I think the Big 12 champion, you can stay home. Sorry, but that conference is just garbage, and I don't care what anybody says.
Let's replace, in fact, the Big 12 in the in the Power 5 with the All-American Gladiator Conference.
I think so. I agree with that.
Well, Greg, watch them give us all a big middle finger in 2 weeks and somehow slide Oklahoma back into the playoff.
That wouldn't surprise me one bit. How many? What do they have? 2 losses, Oklahoma?
2 losses.
If they only had 1, that's exactly what would happen. You know it. That's what would happen.
Oh, yeah. If they had 1 loss, they'd be right up there with everybody else right now.
Yep.
And they'd be, our 1 loss was to Ohio State, who's really good.
Yeah. I don't know. It's fun, but I'm really thinking that we've got to go to 8 teams, because I mean, what's the harm, really? So you're going to add, at this point, you'd be picking up, a couple of teams that maybe aren't going to legitimately have a shot at the national championship, but you never know. A team like a Wisconsin or somebody could get red hot, and they've got a good defense.
Yeah, I mean, if you took the model that we like, you'd have Alabama, you'd have let's just say for the sake of it, Clemson, Washington, Oklahoma,
and Wisconsin.
There's 5. Those are 5 good teams,
right?
And then maybe throw in
Ohio State, Michigan, and oh God, trying to find the 8th team here is a little tough.
Well, if you're going to go based on what they would do, it would be Oklahoma, and we all know it.
Well, Oklahoma is a conference champion.
They get it.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe Louisville? No.
Louisville lost to freaking Kentucky this weekend. They don't deserve anything.
I'm sorry, but I love that.
That was pretty hilarious because oh no, we're still relevant. No, you're not. By Louisville, lose to freaking Kentucky.
Okay, here you go, Zach.
Throw Boise State in there.
No, how about this? How about Western Michigan? 12-0 Western Michigan.
Sure, why the hell not? Get some.
They're going to get slaughtered. I mean, Alabama would. It'd be 80-0 by halftime. But so what?
Yeah.
But first game of the college football playoffs. Number 1 seed Alabama versus
the Western Michigan Broncos.
Bringing some action to the playoffs.
Yeah, but if you try to seed it, you'd have Alabama versus Western Michigan. Then let's say Clemson versus Michigan. Washington versus Ohio State.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Oklahoma versus Wisconsin. Those would be some good games.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think 8 teams could work. But I really do think that. See, that's the problem, though. My biggest concern has always been if they add to it, they're going to keep adding to it. The next thing you know, it's the basketball tournament for football. Where you're arguing whether or not Western Michigan or I don't know. The second place team from the All-American Gladiator Conference should be the 25th team in the tournament. I don't want to see that.
I find the basketball tournament so ridiculous in that regard because it's none of those teams are going to win. Why are we so concerned with the first 4 teams out of the thing and we need the play-in games? No one gives a damn.
That you know what? I mean the 64 teams I guess was okay, but when they started doing the play-in games and all that nonsense, that's when it jumped the shark at that point with me. I completely lost interest in it.
Does the college basketball regular season even mean anything?
Not to me, it doesn't.
No.
I mean, when you can get 68 teams now?
Yeah. Out of I don't know how many there are, but yeah. Kentucky lost a game and dropped from number 1 to number 2. Does it really fucking matter? Nope, not really. The only thing that matters in the end is where you get seeded, and that doesn't even really matter that much. As long as you're a top 4 seed, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, pretty much. The only games that really matter in college basketball to me are some of these early season games when they're managed to get Duke to play Kansas early in the season. And then you go through the doldrums where they go through all these tournaments and no one cares and they're blowing out Air Force of the South. And then they get into the conference tournaments, conference games, and then you have your rivalry games that matter. And then the tournaments kind of whatever, the college conference tournaments themselves. But I don't know. That's kind of a futile exercise too. It's not none of those games will ever reach a mid-level college football game in terms of attention.
Well, and you brought up Duke, Kansas. I mean, that's really cool. They play each other because they're 2 historic programs. But all it is it's a glorified exhibition game because it's not going to make a bit of difference at the end of the year.
Right.
As long as both of those teams get 19, 20 wins, they're both going to get in. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and Duke is going to play Kansas in Madison Square Garden. But, it's not like Kansas is playing Duke in Cameron Indoor Stadium or at the Fog Island Fieldhouse. Those would be cool to get them the on-campus matchups like that. But,
yeah, it's just no. To answer your question, Mike, to me, the regular season in basketball means absolutely nothing. No, it's 25 exhibition games, and then you play the conference tournament. Hope to get one of those magic tickets to the tournament, the big one, and that's about it. That's college basketball in a nutshell.
And do your best to not lose to a 13 seed or something like that.
Yeah.
at least lose to somebody respectable, like a 4 or 5 or something like that.
You brought up Air Force. They knocked off Boise State this week, right? Or last week?
So Boise State falls from the important ranks. Boise State's not even going to win its conference this year, so that's fun.
So is Western Michigan sitting at the top of the whatever it's called, the outside the Power 5 or whatever, the best of the best?
Yeah, as long as Navy doesn't jump them, they're going to be up there.
That was something I heard that was interesting too. If Navy is in the conversation for that, they can't announce it during the when they announce the bowl matchups because Navy hasn't played Army yet, so they don't know.
Right.
Oh my! It's a mess, but it's a fun mess. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I've been listening to basically a football show, and so when I was rooting, well, I was rooting for Ohio State, both because, Greg, and also because I had known just from listening to your show that if they had won, that would have been that was the ultimate
that was the
chaos.
Worst thing that happened, actually, yeah. Michigan would have made things so much easier.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But now we have to deal with all this nonsense of, do they deserve it? Are they worthy? Are we going to have to throw Penn State up there because they win the conference? That sort of garbage.
If Penn State, I get the feeling that if you throw Penn State up there and they go up against Alabama, that would just be a bloodbath.
I got it. Well, my brother brought up a good point when we were talking about the game on Saturdays. Maybe if we lose, it's a blessing in disguise, because I think Zach, you said it a couple weeks ago. This Ohio State team is not the Ohio State team that beat Alabama a couple years ago.
No,
I don't see that happening this time around. I mean, anything's possible, but I'm not terribly confident.
Well, and that's my thought about the whole thing too. We're arguing about who's going to be these teams and will they make it in. I don't think any of it matters because if you look at the way the top 8 or 9, 10 teams are, none of them can beat Alabama. We're just waiting until January 10th, where they play the game, just so Alabama can walk out, take their giant golden beer tap, and go home.
It's all pointless. It's just the march towards inevitable course.
Futility. The only thing, it's a year with Alabama where it's the 1 out of 10 game where one time out of 10 Ohio State might beat them, and you got to hope, if you want Alabama to lose, you've got to hope that it's the day that an Ohio State or a Clemson has that 1 out of 10 day, because short of that, you're right.
Well,
just hand them the trophy and be done. Save us all the time and trouble.
Honestly, I don't even think this is as good of an Alabama team as we've seen recently.
No.
There have been better Alabama football teams as of late, but this one isn't one of them. Just the rest of college football hasn't been able to work its way to that same level. Well, Alabama has a general level of excellence, a bar that they set, and sometimes they go way above it, sometimes they go down, but they'll never go below something like this.
Yeah.
And the rest of the teams just are kind of on a downswing.
Yeah, well, Ohio State's kind of a year early. They only had, I think, 8 seniors this year.
Right.
So
they lost a bunch of the draft last year anyway.
Yeah, so they weren't really supposed to be quite this good this year, but I don't think they are quite that good. It's just a year. It's a transitional year for a lot of the big power teams in college football this year, and that's the way it's turned out.
Yeah, and look, as much as I love this Colorado story, if we're in a world where a Colorado football team that had won 3 conference games since it came into the Pac-12 this year is somehow playing in the Pac-12 title game next weekend, then we're in a weird spot.
Isn't it set that it's going to be them versus Washington? Yeah.
Right, I know. It's a weird situation that we're in.
Well, we're already in a weird situation. Colorado and Washington. Where's USC? Where's Stanford? Where is, you know what I mean? Who won? Utah lost to who
Colorado.
Are they? Yeah, Colorado beat them, right? Yeah. Because rivalry weekend was kind of, other than the Ohio State-Michigan game and I guess a little bit of the Colorado-Utah, it really didn't live up to the billing this year at all.
Well, you got Kentucky-Louisville. Some of the lower-level rivalries were fun, but the prominent ones weren't.
The Iron Bowl was fun for a short while, and
ended up being a dud.
Yeah, I thought Auburn could give them a game, and they did for a little while.
Yeah, they did for a little bit, and then but I was I just flat out switched channels and just jumped to watch the Leafs beat the Caps.
I think we should move on and talk some hockey because there's obviously we've got the whole thing with the new Vegas Golden Knights of Nevada.
Vegas
which had
Golden Knights, which may have to change their name again. Vegas Golden Knights.
This was the greatest name logo unveiling I have ever seen.
It was pure gold. No pun intended.
I don't want to pat myself on the back, but did everybody see my Yakety Sax video I made to it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very good. Very good.
I wish I'd had more time because there were some really great sound bites I wanted to throw into it too.
So not only were we treated to voicemails being played, not only were we treated to Gary Bettman, filling for time.
Which, your presentation has, flown off the rails when you have to bring Gary Bettman on for an encore.
But by the way, I got to say, Bettman has kind of come around in terms of the when people boo him thing. He, they booed him. He's like, oh, it looks like Vegas is a legitimate hockey city now.
Hey, that's good. I like that.
Like, all right, that's good one, Gary.
He's learning how to be a professional wrestling heel. Good job.
And then we get trying to start the video not once, not twice, but 3 times. We try to start the video that the owner was reportedly, as he'll tell you, filmed for 3 hours and really wanted people to see it. But that didn't show up. All we got was placeholder Vegas hockey.
Okay,
that was.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I just saying, even the Yakety Sax video that you put out, Greg, it was hilarious. But even without that Yakety Sax music, when that video just cuts out to placeholder Vegas hockey.
I know you can't really do it justice. It's just, but as someone who's worked in TV production for a very long time, I want to know how that happened.
Right?
Did anybody explain why? Because there was no reason, literally no reason, no good reason for that to happen. You're at a big event like that. The people in charge, you should have had that video cued, and you should have practiced it 5 or 6 times before anybody showed up. It should have been cued, and when he said whatever he said to get it started, he should have hit that button. That sucker should have ran. There should have not even been a placeholder piece of video or still shot even to use. It shouldn't have even been in the system. I don't get it. I don't know what happened there.
You know who could have played a video back? The Quebec Nordiques.
Yeah, they would have gotten it just right. I just don't know how that happens. As they
unveiled the logo that we all know that they would have used.
The wolf?
Yes. But this Vegas unveiling was hilarious because, as Zach said, we got voicemails where the MC was like, "Hey guys, want to listen to a voicemail?" And it's their GM going, "Yeah, we're gonna win a lot of games." Like, what else is he gonna say? And
by the way, if you're listening to the owner, this team is supposed to win the Stanley Cup in its first 6 years of existence.
Okay, good luck with that.
If this, if this thing is any indication of how they are going to conduct themselves, then I'm sure.
Again, he said at the end of the last word went to the owner. He said, "Our first game won't go as badly as this did."
He also said at some point we're going to be better than this on the ice.
Right.
Which I don't know how you couldn't be, because really all you've got to do is get out on the ice and not fall down, and you've already improved by a great deal.
Yeah, well,
it was just something, but I just think it was inexcusable that happened because it shouldn't have even been there.
My favorite part was when my favorite part actually it's kind of a hidden gem in all of this, but it's when the MC leaked part of the name ahead of schedule.
We know that it's going to be something nice. Yeah, we know that, but you're not supposed to say that.
And then because of the video, mishaps, the website actually launched before the name was unveiled.
Right, because I'm sure that was set on a timer, and they said, "Hey, we're going to play the video. The logo will go up at 5:30
again.
It will go live at 5:30.
These are things that you don't leave to chance like that. You don't set a timer up. You go, okay, we're going to text you, we're going to call you when it's time, then you make it go live. To me, it just blows my mind. I would get this if it were some shit like, one of those like a semi-pro baseball league type deals or something where you can't get good people. This is the National Hockey League. And none of this stuff, it's just inexcusable to me.
And then when they, just said screw the video and went to the 3, 2, 1 countdown, the fireworks didn't all go off at the same time, so they had to stretch out the name.
Yeah. It was a disaster.
So as to the actual content itself, Vegas Golden Knights. First, Vegas versus Las Vegas. I get why they choose just Vegas, because Las Vegas Golden Knights is a little long and clunky, but I don't know how I feel about just Vegas.
I think honestly, if we take out the fact that they're probably going to have to change the name because they didn't fully research this.
Yeah.
Well, real quick on that, though, if ever a team needed a mulligan for a whole identity unveiling and all that, it's these guys. So maybe that's not the worst thing.
Hey, guys, come back next week. Come back next Tuesday, and we're going to do this all over again.
But, if we just take everything, all of that aside for a moment and just look at the aesthetics of everything. I don't hate the I like the logos. Golden Knights wasn't my preferred choice of name. I would have gone Desert Knights, then Silver Knights, then Golden Knights in preference, in order of preference.
It's not terrible, but it's not good either.
The only thing I really have a problem with is the fact, is the Vegas part. I think it looks minor league. If you're in a Big Four pro league, if you're in one of the Big Four, you use the proper city name. You have some teams that use regional nicknames like Carolina or Golden State or New England, and those aren't ideal either.
I wouldn't defend Golden State. I still think that's a garbage thing.
Yeah, they're probably going to become San Francisco
Weren't they originally the San Francisco Warriors?
Yes.
San Francisco, then Oakland, and then they had the bright idea of, we're going to travel all around the state, so we'll be the Golden State Warriors rather than just calling themselves California Warriors or something like that. And then they ended up playing just one game outside of the Bay Area in their time as that name.
See, but I don't mind Golden State because I am just used to it. But other than that, I mean, if you sat back and took away the history of it and all that, it would probably seem really stupid to me.
Right.
And just kind of in that whole thing, yeah, that's the only thing that really bugs me is the whole
Vegas
thing. Yeah, Las Vegas Golden Knights is a bit of a mouthful, but
it's really not. I don't think.
But at the same time, people are probably just going to call them the Vegas Knights or Las Vegas Knights in print anyway, or just the Knights. People tend to default, people give teams nicknames all the time, so the official name should include, the Las. It should be Las Vegas. You are the Las Vegas team.
Well, yeah, it's just nobody calls the Mets the Metropolitans, even though that's officially their name. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't understand. For me, it's not the end of the world. I can live with it. I'd prefer it be Las Vegas, but if their argument is that Las Vegas Golden Knights is too much, I mean, really? Have we reached the point in society where it's too hard to say 4 words? That's my thinking on it.
Yeah. I'm kind of with Mike in that for any official capacity, they should be known as the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, I agree.
Not only should you have to use it because, you represent your city name, but, this is Las Vegas's first pro sports team.
Mm-hmm.
They should fully represent the city. There should be a sense of civic pride. And I know that a lot of people call, Vegas, Vegas, but, a lot of people in the area might call it Vegas, but the city's official name is still Las Vegas, right? So,
well, see, that's my thinking, is that everybody refers to it as I'm going to Vegas for the weekend, and maybe that's what their thinking was. But I'm with you. That's fine for people in Arkansas that are headed to Las Vegas, but really, you should be calling it the whole thing. That's not a thing I'm going to get too hung up on. I don't care for it, but I'm not that worried about it. So it's
Again, it's something that they should have the loss. Everyone's going to call them Vegas one way or the other. Mm-hmm. They just went the official step to do it. And trust me, as somebody that was growing up as a fan of the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, in terms of clunky names, everyone ended up just calling them the Ducks. You know, a lot of people just went Anaheim Mighty Ducks after a while, then just the Ducks. And colloquially, they'll lose the Golden, and they'll just be Vegas Knights, which Las Vegas Knights, I like. Vegas Golden Knights, nah. And I know why they had to do this kind of legal gymnastics to name the team how they named it, but
apparently the London Knights OHL team has really good trademark lawyers, and they got, Knights as a hockey team name in Canada locked down hard.
Right. And people say, well, they're an American team, but they're still going to play games in Canada. They're going to sell merchandise in Canada. You have to get two countries covered when you're going to be an NHL franchise. As far as the logos go, the main logo again is just kind of uninspired to me, and that's not a Knight helmet.
That's Magneto.
No. That's Magneto. It's a Spartan. It's not the first thing I think of when I think of a Knight.
No.
I understand the wanting to have like the V in there as the negative space, which is a neat little design element. I'll give them that, but it just doesn't fit the whole thing.
I'm going to go way back. I still don't know why they went so far. I mean, okay, you don't want to do the gambling thing. I get that. But you really didn't embrace any. I mean, you threw the little star thing in from the Welcome to Las Vegas sign.
Which I think
that's a cool
nice.
touch. But why not embrace all of that? I mean, why not? If you're going to go, why not call yourselves the Knights, like it's an NIGHTS, and just, roll with it,
I would have. I'm going to defend the name Knights. I like Knights as a concept, as a literary concept, as a historical concept. I think it's cool. Always wanted to see a team of the Big Four adopt it. I'm glad Vegas ran with it. Like Zach said, that's not a Knight helmet logo. So once again,
the other thing is, like, I know that there's plenty of things around the league where there aren't Penguins in Pittsburgh. I understand that. But when you have something like Las Vegas, there is so much real estate that you can play with in terms of what you could have named this team to be original. And really, by the time they have to go through all the hoops to not make them look like Army and not be that sort of Knight, then what's the point of doing it at all at that point, other than just you really want to?
That's what I'm saying. Why not embrace the whole Las Vegas thing and just go all the way with it? See, and I disagree, Mike. I think Knights is about the most boring name you can come up with for a team. I put it up there with, like, Tigers and Wildcats.
I like Knights. London Knights is great. They have one of the best identities, and in terms of, because, they're not that London, but they have the allusion to English London.
Right.
Mm-hmm. London Knights, that's great. I love the London Knights whole package. Mm-hmm. And Vegas Knights, if you want to do the play on words, that's great. You can do that. You can run with it. You just don't do it with a logo this kind of dull and cold.
It's kind of dull. It's cold. It's trying way too hard to be an Army, not Army logo. Another thing from the unveiling was Foley let his West Point boner, hang out way too far.
Well, and it's like, if you look at the funny thing, of course, is if you look at Army's hockey uniforms, they have a secondary logo, which is a side profile of a Spartan-like helmet on a black shield with gold colors. So it's like you're just like a half step away from being Army. And I know that's exactly what he wanted, and he's the owner, and he paid his money, and he can do whatever the hell he wants with his hockey team. But he also has to appeal to the potential fan base of this team, and I don't know if he really did that by this. Really, the thing that I like the most, I like the kind of the star logo is interesting. I like the word mark. Funnily enough, the word mark is my favorite thing about this whole package.
And the word mark is nice. The word mark is...
and with that, I think the smart thing to do if I was them and you want to sell all the jerseys, make a Rangers style jersey with Vegas across the front. You're going to sell 100 tons of those things.
I like the word mark too, despite the fact that it only says Vegas. It's weird. Yeah. I would rather they not be Vegas, but if they were going to do it, at least it looks nice. My favorite part of it, actually, and I didn't like it at first. I think the concept is fantastic. I thought the execution lacked at first, but it's grown on me. Is the star logo?
Yeah, it's the one thing that's truly Vegas about their identity. You know, the word mark and the star are really the things that tie them back to the community.
What do you guys think of the colors, the overall color scheme?
I spent at least 20 minutes trying to determine what color that gray was.
It's gray, but it's also dark teal.
It's also teal. It's also green. It's also blue. It's also like...
That's probably going to be the color of their sweaters, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I understand too, is the steel gray, which they had some Nike-fied type description of what each color meant. Something about strength and
God.
Oh, by the way, yeah.
Here we go. The steel gray represents steel and durability. The gold due to Nevada being a leading producer of gold. Red for Vegas skyline and the Red Rock Canyons, as well as a readiness to serve, and black for power and intensity.
Readiness to serve. He is aware that it isn't the actual army, right?
Right.
Doesn't sound like it. I just think that for a Vegas team, again, I think you're letting an opportunity go by here. If there was ever a team that you wanted to have some like bright, loud colors, wouldn't it be Vegas? Yeah.
Honestly, and I think this would have made both of us happy, Greg. Back after it was, revealed that they couldn't be the Black Knights, and they started floating around names that were just adjectives in front of knights. The one that I was actually really pulling for at first before it fell out of favor was Neon Knights.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
And I thought that would have been really cool. Like, you get some sort of like knight helmet logo, but like the base would have been black, and maybe use like teal and bright pink and green and yellow. Yep. And so you've got like a black base, but the logo pops off of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you got to go with Knights, that's the one you go with. I think is that really. You can do both that way. You can play pretend West Point, and you can also make a real nice nod to Las Vegas that way. You would think with all the time they've had, they would have done a little bit better than this.
If you're going to sit down and watch a sports show, why are you going to do it in the middle of the week? Because you're either going to be talking about stuff that has already happened or stuff that is going to happen. You're not talking about what is happening or what has just happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you're going to be outdated no matter what. You're either going to be too early and no one's going to care, or you're going to be too late and no one's going to care.
Right.
So what HBO should have done is paired him up with either Bill Maher or John Oliver on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
Because Bill Maher's on Friday night and John Oliver's on a Sunday night. And that would make sense because Oliver was a half hour and his show was a half hour. And I know they usually paired Oliver with one of the other HBO comedies, whatever they had, on their plate at the time. But that would have been a perfect hour. You go John Oliver, lead it into Bill Simmons, or vice versa. You have it coming right out of either like Game of Thrones or Westworld or any of these high profile HBO shows.
Yep.
And you get an audience, they're there and they're in the mood for some snarky discussion about, the real world. And, it would have made sense. But.
And you know what I think also, speaking of Bill Maher, I think that a Simmons show formatted similar to Bill Maher, it's like a sports edition of Real Time would work. I think that's just the interview thing, there's just so much of that, and he's not a particularly good interviewer to begin with. when it comes to TV. I mean, I'm sure he's okay. I don't think he's good at it as a writer, actually, but that's not his best. You know, when you're going to use that guy, use his best assets, and the way they did his show was not him at his best.
Right.
That's not what people read him for, or listen to him for.
And the other parallel to Bill Maher's show, which they also brought up, is do it live. Part of the problem is that it was taped, and so you don't get kind of his raw feelings about things. It was it was scripted. Yeah, there was interviews, so they were kind of live, but you cut around the parts that suck because, you know, sometimes you're going to have a bad question, but you don't get any, it doesn't feel immediate. It doesn't feel like you have to watch it right then and there. Like, because if you know it's a tape show and you say, oh, well then, you know, it's a tape show that's caught in between events. So really, you can watch any of his past shows and they're probably pretty evergreen in terms of going back and watching them because they didn't have to be live. You didn't have to sit down and watch them right then. Whereas if you have a live show on a Sunday night, could you imagine Bill Simmons after a day of NFL football getting live reactions on Sunday night with him and, you know, bring in Cousin Sal or whatever from the podcast?
I was just going to say, I would rather watch Bill Simmons and Cousin Sal do the Lines podcast on TV than any of the shows I saw for any given Wednesday. Because the thing with Simmons, too, is that he's the attraction. It's not him talking to other people. He's the guy you tune in for, like him and Cousin Sal. You don't want to hear, I mean, I get it. You want to get the big names in there because you want to try to draw people in, but that's not his strong suit, and that's not why people read him or listened to his podcast. And it was just bad execution. But I think, a live show on Sunday, and I think a real-time type format would really work for him. But trying to do this was just a bad idea all around. Well, I thought he was pretty good-natured about it, though. I mean, he didn't seem to be too devastated by it all happening.
No, because he knows that he's still going to get paid. Yeah. And it's not like HBO's ditching him. They're just saying the show didn't work. Yeah. So we're going to do something else.
Yeah.
Again, you know, I kind of wish that Fox Sports 1 had kind of gotten in a different direction and had tried to pick up him and Olbermann when they had the chance. But
now you got poor old Keith Olbermann doing that. First off, stealing Mike and I's idea with the Resistance. And
we were going to turn this into basically a Resistance.
Basically the Resistance. Yeah, that was going to be our new political show. But now he's just basically doing 10-minute rants on YouTube every day, which is fine. I mean, they're good, I guess. But
he was doing it for GQ.
Yeah,
the election. Is he still doing it for them?
Yeah. Well, first it was called The Closer, but since Trump got elected, now it's become The Resistance. And I like it because he's really a lot more unhinged when he's on television. So.
I thought he was pretty unhinged when he was still on.
That's
MSNBC.
what I'm saying. He's really.
And to be fair, he was always a bit unhinged on ESPN too. But that's
what I'm saying. This is even better.
It was fun. It wasn't real.
Yeah.
when he gets to his political discussions, Keith goes a little hard.
Yeah, he's I mean, imagine what he was like on MSNBC, and now add 5, crank it up 5 notches.
Now he doesn't have like a top network telling him to rein it in a bit.
Keith, you're an old man that's had shingles. Please just calm down.
But really, like, if Fox Sports 1 had, instead of doing what they're doing now, if they had just been like, oh, hey, Keith Olbermann, oh, hey, Bill Simmons, hey, let's kind of build a intellectual alternative to ESPN insteed of let's just do what they did.
And of all the things that you're going to take from ESPN, like First Take is what you decide. That's what you're going to hang your hat on.
Only you somehow find a worse person than Steve.
Like their Fox Sports 1's daytime lineup is anchored upon Skip Bayless, Colin Cowherd, and Jason Whitlock.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
No.
Maybe you want a little bit of them here and there to spice things up, but not as like this is what we're basing our entire game plan on.
All of the excitement about Fox Sports 1 when it started was that it was going to be the alternative from that kind of stuff.
Right, and the direction they should have gone, they should have said, we're going to try to do stuff like the sports reporters or something with, outside the lines. That's the direction we want to go. Instead,
I would have...
They take the worst shit on ESPN and go, we're going to do it even worse than they do it.
I mean, geez, I'd even take an entire show devoted to This Week in Punting.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of, like, poor Jay and Dan, who are legitimate talents, they're, because they did a funny bit once when they didn't get sent to the Women's World Cup. to do like live shows from there. So they did a funny bit where they didn't get to go, so they were doing it from their closet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Fox said, "Oh, that looks nice. Yeah, do that all the time." And so they took them out of the big studio, and now they work in like an electrical closet.
Can TSN have Jay and Dan back now?
I'm sure that they would love to go back. Believe me.
Well, I think they're getting paid a lot more money down here still, but they're basically doing a public access show out of their their basement.
And it was a cool idea for a couple of times, but it's not an everyday type thing.
No, and I still listen to their podcast. The podcast is still very entertaining, but in terms of their regular show, it's not highlights, but it's like quirky interviews, and it's just it just does not fit with the rest of what that network's trying to be. Mm-hmm. But I think if you want to be a legitimate sports network, you need to have a nightly highlight show in some facet.
Yeah,
maybe the highlight show is not necessarily the top of everyone's list anymore because we can do so many other things. And I think we talked about the death of the highlight show at some point before, but
you know what though,
you need it as like the anchor to your network. If there is a point where real news has to be talked about, there is no place to discuss it on Fox Sports.
No,
and we've talked about the death of the highlight show, but I think there are ways to reinvent the highlight show to still make it relevant, and I think real sports journalism is the way to go. Like you lean on the highlight show to basically be your equivalent of the evening news.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's always going to be the one thing that just looking up a clip on YouTube won't replicate.
Yeah,
so.
And I think too that if you give them a good show and let it be entertaining, okay, sure, you can look up the highlights ahead of time and all that, but if it's a good personality driven show, people will tune in.
Yeah,
it's just not. It's not. This isn't brain surgery. I don't understand why. Like Fox Sports 1, they had such a chance to be something really good, and they just totally botched it. I think we brought up this specific point when Muhammad Ali died. Mm-hmm. I remember channel surfing because I wanted to see how every network was covering it, and NBC Sports, didn't have anything. Fox Sports 1 didn't have anything because they don't have those legitimate, daily news highlight type shows where they could shoot somebody to death and tell you what had happened and get people on to talk about the actual news. You had to wait until the next morning for Colin Cowherd to say anything, or the Skip Bayless show hadn't been up, but I'm sure if he was, they would have spent 30 minutes saying, arguing his greatness or something.
Skip Bayless would have argued that Tim Tebow could have been a better boxer if he had chosen to pursue that.
Yeah. Well, God, I could, based on the little clips that they keep throwing into the stupid promos, Skip Bayless seems like he's having a whale of a time because the Cowboys are actually good this year. And so Shannon Sharp has to be the guy. The Cowboys aren't actually that good. And it's like, ugh, stop.
Yeah, actually they are. I said this is something that's a little off the track here, but with Skip Bayless, something came out a couple days ago. Back in, I want to say in the mid-'90s, he claimed that Troy Aikman was gay. And Troy Aikman was upset by this. Now granted today it's like, well, whatever, because, it's just a different world we live in now. But he's like, I still don't understand why he got so upset about that back in like 1994. And it's like, dude, again, I'm not saying it's right, but in 1994, that could have cost him everything. I mean, everything, literally. And you wonder why he's upset. I'm like, you can't be that fucking stupid.
I mean, these days, Aaron Rodgers gets called gay, and he just dates Olivia Moon. So
right, yeah, and nobody. I mean, you know what? And nobody would care.
Olivia Munn, sorry.
It's just a different. It's a different world now, and thank God. But back then, it wasn't. People weren't as open minded, and it's just. He's like, I don't understand why he was upset. It's because because you potentially almost cost him his career, right? Now if he comes out and says it today, nobody's even going to listen to it. But it was a different time, and I'm like, okay, Skip, if you really don't understand that I can't explain it.
Well, now if he came out and said it, it's like, oh, that's stupid thing 500 that Skip Bayless said that day.
Yeah,
in a long.
Right, and the reaction is going to be, so what if he is? That's that's basically going to be the reaction. Who gives a shit?
I really wonder what kind of people watch these shows on a daily basis. Because the only time I ever see anything from these shows is if
somebody else is covering it.
Well, if somebody else says something truly stupid, and somebody says like, we know this is just an act, but this is a dumb thing to say. Like, I don't know the people that are actually watching the show, just the people that are reacting to a reaction from the show.
There was a guy that worked for me that watched First Take on a daily basis. He's the only one I've ever met.
And he didn't watch it, like, ironically, like watching a train wreck kind of thing. Like, he was legit into it.
I don't know if he was into it. I mean, I think he just watched. He wasn't watching it ironically. No, he was watching it legitimately, but I don't think because he was into it. I think it was one of those, I want to watch something about sports, and this is what is on, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was the only person I've ever met that like watched it and every day.
Well, like, I'm even trying to think when it comes to things like PTI or Around the Horn. The last time I watched those shows on a regular basis was in high school when they were on right after I got home from school.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go immediately into my homework, so you get a snack, you sit down and you watch TV for an hour or whatever, and that was the hour that was on. Now, like, if I'm home and I got nothing else to do, maybe I'll flip onto it, but it's even those types of shows which are well done, I don't even think of going to on a regular basis.
Yeah, I'm sure PTI is still on, right?
Yeah, it's still on, and I tune in whenever there's like a big event that happens. There's like, I want to see what these guys want to talk about it, or like I think I flipped on it after the Cubs won, and I think the time before that was Muhammad Ali.
But the thing with that show, though, to give like a perfect example of a well done, personality driven show can work. And it doesn't have to be two guys, trying to say the most outrageous thing and just keep one-upping each other. I mean, Wilbon.
Oh, you said Troy Aikman was gay? Well,
I got video of him.
He's a hermaphroid. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I got video of Aikman fucking a goat. So what do you think about that? I mean, come on. It's just, the whole thing's a mess. And, it's just all a mess. And why the hell do the Eagles have to go all black tonight with the uniforms? Why do they do this to me?
Well, at least if Thursday Night Football dies, Color Rush will be over.
Well, that would be a good thing, huh? I just don't get it. It's like, okay, I didn't do my best and worst list because this was a game I thought this has got potential to be up there, and it's like, oh, for Pete's sake.
Oh.
But, the Packers, I've got Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, and I was down like 40 points in my fantasy game, and I'm coming back strong here, so who knows. Anyway, we got anything else?
Actually winning a game?
Huh? They are right now. They're right now. Yeah, the Aaron Rodgers runs around and looks for somebody open. Offense seems to be working pretty well tonight.
Okay. The everyone go long playbook.
Yeah, you guys run around. I'll try not to get killed, and we'll see if we can throw a pass to somebody. That seems to be the offense. So. Anyway, we got anything else?
No, not that I can think of.
All right, then let's wrap her up and put a bow on. Oh, did everybody have a good holiday?
First American Thanksgiving was good. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. You like Thanksgiving in November?
It's not as God intended, but I suppose it's fine.
You like Thanksgiving on a Thursday? Thanksgiving
in October, where it belongs before Halloween. That's
okay. Let me ask you this, Mike. How did you like a Thanksgiving where it was 80 degrees and sunny?
That's really been the main. It's starting to quote unquote cool down now.
Yeah.
And I see people in jeans, sweaters, and jackets now.
Yeah.
And I'm still walking around in shorts.
I'm going to tell you, what? Wait until, probably December, January. Mm-hmm. It's going to hit 55 degrees for a high down there. You're not going to believe how cold 55 degrees can feel.
Yeah,
I assure you. It's
all the humidity. It's probably the humidity. Yeah.
Because when it gets cold down there, man, it just hangs in the air and it just sticks to you. And it's like, oh, my God, I've never been so cold as I was when I was in Florida in March for spring training, and it was 58 degrees.
I don't know. I was in Ontario during polar vortex, so I guarantee you I've been colder.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about the polar vortex.
It rained here over the weekend.
Oh my God!
So, yeah,
is the drought? Is the state running out of water postponed now?
No, we still need a lot more water, but it did rain.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it It rained during both the LA-based football games this weekend. It rained during it rained last week during the Rams game. It rained this week during the USC Notre Dame game. And it rained again yesterday, and it rained today. And it's like 50 degrees, and damn it, I wore a jacket.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, oh, wow. Look at
Zach,
that.
I'm just going to tell you that it's the same temperature there that it is here right now.
Hey, it's cold, man.
That's the end of the world. That's the sure sign of the end of the world. Anyway.
It got down to
what, the Cubs winning the World Series and Donald Trump being elected president weren't enough signs?
Well, I'm just saying, they're throwing these little extra signs in just in case you didn't get the message already. Just really driving the point home right now. All right, anyway, folks, you can find us on Twitter at Basically Sports. The website is basicallyasportshow.com. Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube, and you can find us on Facebook. We will see you next time. Check out all the other good stuff, and that's it.
See ya.